Hello everyone, welcome back to Anmoll Astrology channel. Now today's video is about the major transit that is happening on 29th of March 2025, which is the transit of Saturn in the sign of Pisces. So before that, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. If you do not want to miss the updates from my channel, please also hit the bell icon. This video is for you, that how this Saturn is going to help you or how it is going to affect you. And also, if this Saturn is coming over any of your planets, how this Saturn is going to behave. Okay, so before that, let's first understand what is the sign of Pisces and what is Saturn and what does Saturn do in the sign of Pisces. Now, first of all, Pisces is important sign this year, So many things are happening in the sign of Pisces. A lot of karma, a lot of transformation is happening with Pisces. You know, everywhere it's just, I think, for the past 1 month and maybe more than 1 month, right? I have been talking all about Pisces. So Pisces, or the 12th house, it's naturally the house of your subconscious mind. It is the house of your spirituality. I consider that to be a house of your thought process, how you think. So if someone asks me about a question about what do you think, like, they give me someone else's chart and they want to know, what do you think? What is their way of processing things? What is their way of thinking about a certain, a topic? Then I always look at ninth and the 12th house, right? Just 1 second. So, 12th house is your imagination. It's about your whatever inbuilt talents you have, whatever planet or whatever zodiac sign or the qualities your subconscious mind possesses. That is the 12th house. 12th house is also the house of hospitals. It is the house of jails, any place which is subject to isolation. Right. So the sign of Pisces is one of the water elements. Now, Saturn is coming into a water sign, a water element. 12th house is also about your expenses. Most importantly, it is either significant losses or it is expenses. Whether or not, where do you like to spend your money? Do you like to spend it on luxury, on royalty, or do you like to just, have that a little bit of stinginess towards spending your money? So it's kind of expenditure that you make. And then the sign of Pisces, since it's a water element, it has two extremes. It is the most dual sign. It is dual and it is very, very unpredictable. So it is one of the water signs which actually makes you deal with the situations, problems, or even the fruits that are within. Since this is a zodiac sign ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the most benefic planet, right? But the Pisces side, see, ninth house of Jupiter or ninth sign Sagittarius is about expansion. It is about optimism. It is about the philosophy, right? And it is a fiery sign. It is a dharma sign, dharma related sign, where you follow a particular goal. But when we talk about Pisces, it's about the wisdom that comes within you from the inside. It doesn't comes with experience, just like that comes there with Sagittarius. It comes within. And similarly, Pisces is also one of the fortunate signs. You would see that people having prominent Pisces are actually very fortunate. It is the sign of expenditure, but who can do an expenditure? If you have 10 rupees, you can spend only 10 rupees, or you can just take on loans or spend it, but anyhow you have to pay it back. So your expenditure is the reflection of your income. It is the reflection of your money, what you have, and what is your ability to spend. That is the 12th house. So it's not just about expenses, it is about your ability to spend. It is not going to tell us how much assets do you have, but it will tell that out of those assets, out of the amount of money do you have, how much money are you willing to take out or do an expenditure with. So Pisces, since it is a water sign, it is intuitive, it's very, very sensitive sign. These people are very unpredictable. The people who have, suppose, moon in Pisces or the ascendant lord in Pisces, when they love someone, when they care about someone, they are going to, their whole world surrounds around that person. And I think this is something I've said repetitively. That is because 12th house is the house of isolation. When you surround your love or you surround your world around one person, what do? You just, isolate yourself, and your boundary is just around that individual. Now, 12th house is also the house of your sleep. It is the house of, the astral travel. So when you connect with someone, whenever you have a planet there, you connect with that planet on a subconscious level. So your subconscious mind or your intention actually comes through that planet, whichever planet is actually sitting in the sign of Pisces. These people are very generous, very generous. I think the power of taking on problems is something that Pisces individuals have. You'll see most of the people having Pisces as the ascendant sign in Navamsha. You know, but let me tell you this thing, that these people are the ones, whichever you person, if you see they have Pisces in Navamsha, they are going to be the ones who have suffered a lot, and they have the capacity to take all that suffering, but still they have so much to give. Still they have ample amount of love and emotions to nurture. But once this person just comes to that saturation point, you are going to experience the major destruction. So that is why we call Pisces as an unpredictable sign, because when the Pisces sign gives its karma, it becomes unbearable. It definitely is going to transform something. It definitely is going to uproot something and to reroot something else. So it's a destruction that comes into play, and then something new forms, something new grows. This is also the two extremes that I was talking about, the sign. These two extremes are actually, one is the extreme addiction, the extreme devotion, and one is the extreme oblivionness. What kind of stories do you form? What kind of imagination do you have? If you are a creative person, then what kind of creativity do you take on, and then work around with it and present it. You people who are novel writers, who are lyricists, please forgive me for my pronunciation, right? And those who maybe write stories, the directors, screenplay writers, all of these people have prominent Pisces. So now all of these things are going to get affected by Saturn. So Saturn comes in for 2.5 years. So that means for 2.5 years, it is going to show its qualities by the way of all these things. Now, Saturn is a slow moving planet. That's why its transit period is the lengthiest. It's 2.5 years. So this is a planet that naturally rules the 10th and the 11th house. So Saturn's transit actually decides your career, your promotion, your career success, and your recognition. So Saturn is a planet of karma and your karma. Saturn is a planet of your karma and actions, your responsibility, your discipline, your organization. Even more than discipline, I would say Saturn is a representative of organization. Saturn is humility. Saturn is generosity. Saturn is being fair. But Saturn is the biggest rebel, even more than Rahu. In fact, Rahu is going to be a person who will actually, what if suppose he wants to rebel. There's a person with Rahu. He's trying to rebel at a situation, but he feels fearful that after this point I'm not going to be able to rebel. I might have to find another way around. But Saturn will be like, I have decided to rebel, and that's what I'm going to do. He's stubborn. He's not going to change for anything and any cause. What's fair in his eyes, that is fair for him. Nothing else is going to work. And it is very hard to convince a Saturnian person about anything because they have the highest of intelligence. It's not just only the wisdom that they have, they also have the sense of practicality of that wisdom. Their wisdom is not restricted to the books, their wisdom is restricted to the harsh reality of life, the harshness, what can come from the other person or from people or from the society. Saturn is an old person. It is a cold person. It is old people. It is anyone who serves you. I won't categorize it to be servant because I have seen so many people with prominent Saturn in the first house, and ascendant Lord Saturn in the first house. They are millionaires, billionaires. So they are not servants, but their attitude is full of humility, generosity. They are always at service. But at the same time, when Saturn is in the first house, you always keep up your personality. You do not, you just do not compromise at a cost where it is very unreasonable. You have to be factual with Saturn. So as to convince a Saturnian person, you have to state right facts. You have to keep up there. Now, when Saturn comes, Saturn is also boundaries. It's restriction. It restricts the area wherever it goes. So, wherever the transit of Saturn goes, it is going to restrict that area. And when restriction comes in, when suppose I am left in a box only, and I cannot just go outside, I cannot do anything, I don't know anything about outside, there's no contact I can make on the outside of that box. What I'm going to do? I'm going to use the resources of that particular house only. And I'm going to play with them. I'm going to use them into my, whatever I want to do. So if suppose I want to make food and I am stuck in a box, I have only limited supplies, I'm going to use those supplies to the best possible way and make something out of it. That's what Saturn makes you do when the transit happens. Obviously, in the placement also, Saturn makes you do that. But when Saturn comes into a transit, it restricts that house for you, and it tells you to work around with your situation only within that house. So, what happens? Your determination increases, your focus increases. Now, this Saturn is coming into the sign of Pisces, the last zodiac sign. What do we call the Pisces? It's the last zodiac sign. It is the way to go away from this world. It is the last house after which the soul just departs from this world. So now what is Saturn going to do? Saturn is going to take your soul, keep it inside that isolate sorry, that isolated box, and you'll have to deal with the karma of that house. You cannot escape that house, first of all. So wherever this Saturn is coming in for you, you are bound to take on responsibility towards that house. And if you think that you are going to, be oblivion about that house, you are going to ignore that house, Saturn is not going to let you do that. Saturn is going to, this is actually one of the strongest remedy you can take or you can do. Start becoming responsible about that house. Do not ignore the house where Pisces is. Wherever Pisces is, just do not ignore that house. Be responsible, be organized towards that house. If your Pisces is in the 10th house, be organized with your career. Be fully determined and involved within the social work, your social responsibilities, your responsibilities towards authorities, your seva, your service, and also your career. Even if you have so much of turmoil anywhere else, within your marriage, within your home, anywhere else, do not ignore your karma. Do not ignore your career. Saturn is in the 7th house. You cannot escape partnership. You cannot escape business. You cannot escape your marriage, your spouse, your encounter with other people. You will have to deal with it. You cannot ignore the problems of your responsibility towards your spouse. You have to deal with it. Now, 12th house is also the house of expenses. And whenever Saturn is a heavy planet, whenever Saturn comes, it suppresses the qualities of that house. It will suppress your expenditure, but it will also make you take on the financial responsibility towards the sign of Pisces, wherever it is, because that house is, the sign of Pisces, and the 12th house is your financial responsibility. You go and see, whenever in the first phase of one Sadisati, whenever Saturn comes 12th for moon, whenever those people who have Saturn in the 12th house in D1, they feel quite responsible about the finances. They take stress for their responsibilities. They are the people who just do not and cannot ignore their responsibilities. That's the part of their karma. Another thing, this is the house of imagination. I think the Sadisati for Pisces and also for Aries, because it's the first phase of their Sadisati, is going to be the most tough one. You know why? The quality of the sign of Pisces is imagination. Their own world. They are always lost in their own world. They have their own company and they're oblivion. even if they are involved into something, the back of their mind, something or the other is going on. They have some thoughts, they are talking to themselves within themselves. It might not be appearing up front, but it is going on within them. They're always thinking, overthinking, and talking to themselves within their heart. So when Saturn comes here, it suppresses your imagination, it brings in reality for you. Since these people, and wherever the sign of Pisces is, these people are quite, imaginative. They are quite in their own world. They are quite lost. They are, I would say, absent in a way. They are subconsciously or consciously absent. That depends what planet is there, right? So now Saturn is going to just, take a hammer, you know, just bang it on their heads and say that, look what is there. Look what is in front of you, and that is what it is. Doesn't matter anything else doesn't matter. But what is in front of you, you are bound to believe that. It's no more about you going into your imagination and imagining 10 different, 100 different things. Nothing is going to work out for you. You will see, if you are a Pisces moon, if you are an Aries moon, the moment you're going to decide on something, like the moment you're going to imagine something, oh, this is the thing, I'll do like this, I'll travel there, then I'll go there, I'll spend this much money, I'll buy this, I'll do this, these kinds of desires, the moment you even think about it, let me tell you, at the other moment, Saturn is going to just be like, boom. It will bring in something like this, that you won't be able to do that imaginative thing you were thinking about. 12th house, or the sign of Pisces, is about addiction. Saturn suppresses one's addiction. It will not let you sleep, it will disturb one's sleep. So, if suppose Saturn is, you are an Aries ascendant, Saturn comes into your 12th house, it is going to disturb your sleep. If you are an Aries moon, it is going to disturb your sleep. Even for Pisces, it is going to make you so involved in work, so hardworking, and so cold emotionally, that you will be like, just bring it on, bring everything on. I'm here to do everything. It is going to give you the harshest reality of life. And this is the sign where it actually hurts the most with the reality part of Saturn, because of the natural nature of the sign of Pisces, the actual nature of the sign of Pisces. So, wherever your Saturn is transiting for 2.5 years now, and I think it's probably right now it's 2025. It's transiting in March, and I think 2025, 2026, 2027. And I remember checking it out that the transit is actually going to be there till February 2028, because of, Saturn moving ahead, then coming back in retrogression. So overall, this transit is going to actually be extended till February 2028. I think that's what the date was. I'll get it checked, and later on in the other videos I'll mention that. But that's what it is, right? So it's like it's slightly longer. Saturn is in the sign of Pisces for slightly longer time. This Saturn can either initiate travel for a lot of people, or it can suppress travel. So, this Saturn is going to bring in a lot of travel restrictions and laws related to travel. So, in the news for the upcoming 2.5 years, we are going to hear a lot about certain laws being, you know, laid down in terms of travel restrictions, or travel allowances, in fact. That, of course, depends on the mundane level, that how the chart or the ascendant of a particular country is, right? But on a political level or on a mundane level, we will be able to see a lot of legalities, a lot of legal changes. And Saturn coming into the sign of Pisces actually gives a person karma with foreign governments. If the Mahadasha is promising, if the planet on which it is traveling, that is all right, it is going to give you the best time, with your obligations towards government. So it is going to give you support from foreign governments or even your own government. It all depends on how your placements are, right? Now, let's talk about if this Saturn is going to come over any planet of yours. When we come to each and every zodiac sign, in those videos also we are going to discuss about, like, for example, if I talk about Aries ascendants and Aries moon sign, then I'm going to talk about if you have Sun in Aries and Saturn comes over your Sun, then what is going to be the result. Then if your Venus is in Aries and Saturn comes over it, what is going to be the result. So we are going to do that. That is a bit of in-depth videos, but here I'm just going to give a bit of overview that if Saturn is coming over a planet, then what results you can see, right? Regardless of the house, right? The sign we do know it's Pisces, so regardless of the house. So now, if this Saturn is coming over your Sun, what is going to be the result? So when Saturn is coming over your Sun in the sign of Pisces, you have been a person who does extremely well in isolation. You have been a person who has the habit of waking up middle of the night, or it's not about waking up, it's actually about that you work the best when it's nighttime. So when Saturn comes over the Sun, Saturn actually is going to suppress your imagination. It is going to suppress your ego. It is going to suppress your self esteem. It is going to change you from within when it is about your personality. So, when we talk about an individual's personality, and Sun, Saturn is coming over your Sun in the sign of Pisces, it is going to change you. It is going to change you from within. Your personality, not just your appearance, but your personality within, your dependability. Your dependability will be challenged, ego will be challenged. You will even face humiliation wherever this wherever this sign is, sign of Pisces. Like, for example, your sign of Pisces is in the fourth house, and you have Sun in the sign of Pisces in the fourth house. When Saturn is going to come over your Sun, there can be some sort of humiliation in regards of your home environment, or some secret would come out of your home which will create that kind of embarrassment for you. And it's not necessary that's actual embarrassment. That's something you are going to feel. That is going to be embarrassment for you. You are not going to be comfortable that this thing came out. I didn't want that. I didn't want to discuss it with anyone. Right? So when Saturn comes over Sun in the sign of Pisces, it will work extremely well when it is about one's career. Whenever I see Sun and Saturn conjunction, or Saturn coming over Sun in a person's chart, I know this person is going to do very well in their career. And you know what? This also illuminates one's abilities. Sun is very much responsible about our education and our understanding towards work. our research towards work, because fifth house or the sign of Leo is actually eighth from the sign of Capricorn, from the 10th house. So it's the research that you do within your work. It's the transformation, or it's the actually important factor that you bring out within your work. It's the hidden aspect, your hidden talent, and your hidden quality that you bring into your career, into your work. So when Sun gets challenged by Saturn, I always say that when these planets come together, when they're opposite to each other, they keep on looking at each other and they restrict each other. But then when they are in conjunction, they have to work around together, because it's suppose Sun is to burn Saturn. He himself is going to get burned because he's sitting with him in the same house, very close. So that's why when these two planets come together, when Saturn comes over Sun or Sun comes over Saturn, they have to work together. So your ego, your service comes together. You make a lot of donations, and you should rather make a lot of donations during Sun. You should actually help people, because Sun is about your dependability, how much a person can depend on you. That is what Sun represents. So you need to prove your dependability, you need to prove your personality. So this Saturn is first going to suppress your imagination, it is going to suppress your research times. And now whatever you have been researching on, whatever inbuilt talents do you have, maybe you are an IT professional, but you are an excellent learner of astrology. You will be bound to research on astrology and take it now out to work on it or become an astrologer, at least full time or part time, howsoever it could be. But Saturn coming over Sun shows, or anywhere being associated with Sun shows, that you have to take out your education, you have to take out your knowledge self and put it out there to work. But of course, the ego is crunched, the self esteem is challenged, your personality differs, your personality changes. That is the most important result of this Sun. Now, if Moon is there, that means you are at the peak phase of your Sarasati. You will feel lethargic and you will be most active at the night time. You will become workaholic and totally cold on emotions. Suppose if you were an individual, and you might have been like that because you are a Pisces moon. So if you have moon in Pisces, you have been a person who just, in Hindi we say lilag hona. So Pisces are lilag. That means you depend on other people. You depend on other people emotionally. If you love someone, you depend on them emotionally. You depend on your mother. Wherever the Pisces is, wherever the moon is, you depend on that person. You just, when they tell you something, you're just like, I'm going to do this. I'm cautious about it. I'm going to do this. You're very cautious about that area, wherever Pisces is. So when Saturn comes there, first, you're going to be overly careful, overly cautious. You would try to go 10 steps ahead. You will try to work around and think about your steps way earlier. It's not only the sign of Aquarius, which is futuristic. Pisces people are also very futuristic. That's why most of the Pisces people are shamans, mystics, predictors, astrologers. They want to know about the future. What is going to happen because in the future, because of the present calculation. So that's why these people are extremely cautious. And when Saturn comes in, that is going to bring in fears for these people, but it is going to suppress their emotional fluctuations. So you will see their emotions are finally going to stabilize for some time, right? See, Saturn is going to go retrograde and it is going to get conjunct with planets. So it might feel a little bit, moody, or mood swings will be there. That's the habit of Sadhisati. That's the key point of Sadhisati. But still, you will feel far more stable than when Saturn was actually in the sign of Aquarius. So when it's coming over your moon, you just surround yourself, or you just restrict your emotions. You protect your emotions. You become cold. You become practical. Now, if you were a person who's so sensitive that you just used to get affected from other people just in like 1 minute, 2 minutes, like any one thing they would say, and you'll be like, oh, why? How can you do that to me? Sorry for the drama. Okay. So now you'll be like, oh, you said that to me? Okay, it's okay. I don't care. I'll move on. So that is going to become your attitude. And I think that's the best part of Sadhisati, because it actually clears your judgment. It lets you know that who actually deserves your attention and who does not, who deserves your emotions and who does not. That's why you become very practical with your emotions. So moon is also a planet of instability. It's wobbly planet. It's sometimes here, sometimes there. So that's why when Saturn comes there, it just suppresses that instability. It will suppress your expenditure, but you will have to take on some significant expenses, either regards to your home, or wherever the sign of Pisces is, or in regards of your mother, towards your mother. And so as to complete that expense, you are going to become miser in all the other areas. You are going to just, keep your fist like this for all the other areas. So you will have to save. You will have to save up the money. Not as in that there will be a lot of savings in your bank account, but you have to save certain set of money from certain spaces so as to take up some responsible expenditure, or expenditure out of responsibility. Now, if suppose the Saturn comes over your Jupiter, this is the most life lesson learning time for you. Jupiter is the optimistic one. Saturn is going to, you know, make a boundary around your optimism. I won't say it is going to make you pessimistic, but it is going to restrict your optimism. Jupiter is about expansion. In the sign of Pisces, it expands your subconscious mind. It expands your imagination. It expands your imagination to that level that you connect with God. You can meditate. You can easily connect with, that outer sources. But when Saturn comes here, it will restrict that. It will cloud that. So it will tell you to be present in the moment, not go into your wonderland, your fantasy land. Let me tell you, Jupiter in the 12th house, or Jupiter in the sign of Pisces, they have their own fantasy land. They might not tell you about it, but they will have it. Because Jupiter is a storyteller, he's a narrator. It's not always Mercury, but it's Jupiter. So when it is in the sign of Pisces or in the 12th house, it has so much in itself to imagine. And these people are excellent researchers. So now this expansion is going to restrict. But you know what this will do? This will actually let you gain your focus. So if you are student and you have Jupiter in the sign of Pisces and Saturn is coming over you, you are going to get good lessons of your life, lifelong lessons that you would remember that this year was the year that taught me something. It is going to restrict that expansion. It is going to bring in focus, determination towards that house. It will make you see the true faces of people. What is wisdom? Tell me, what is wisdom? When you understand that if someone is good for you or not good for you, even if on the face they are showing you that I am good for you. Like, for example, what is the signification of a good wisdom of Jupiter? When something happens in your life, you can extract a lesson out of it. And you can realize, you can understand this is the lesson the universe wanted me to tell. And then you can help people with that lesson by giving your own experience. That is a good Jupiter. So when Saturn comes here, it will make you learn the wisdom of life. You will, your judgment will become very, very clear, very sorted. For that, you'll be given so many reality checks. Since Jupiter is about celebrations, your celebrations are going to be suppressed. Do not celebrate. Do not celebrate too early, or even I would say just let it be. Just look at people who have Saturn and Jupiter. Whenever they announce what they are going to do, out of happiness, out of excitement that, oh, I bought that property, oh, I did that, I achieved that, I had a profit of this much money, I got a car. When you do that with Jupiter, when you announce it, and Saturn is there with Jupiter, or it is aspecting Jupiter, something is going to happen. Like a nazar, nazar is real for these people when Saturn transits over Jupiter. So it is going to give you the wisdom. It is going to give you the wisdom by giving you lessons. But again, this is, I've always talked about it, that Saturn and Jupiter, when come together, they are the combination of manifestation. So they do bring in things into play. They do give positive things in your life. But for that, you need to make some sacrifice. This is a combination of sacrifice of oneself, one's personality, one's ego, right? So this is also a combination where it is known as karma dharma adapati yoga, where you actually do certain actions based on your dharma, based on your, now some people would say it's not dharma, it's dharma. I don't know why people just have to bring these things out. Why don't you just focus on the knowledge? Sorry. Yeah. So it means that with your morals, with your hard work, you are going to make yourself a person of, you know, a person who is recognized for, and you are going to earn respect. You're going to earn the kind of money, the stability, not just not money, I would say, but stability in life for yourself. So it's an amazing time, to be honest. It's not like full of happiness. It definitely is full of obstacles, but the lessons will give you the positive result for a lifetime. Now, if this Saturn is coming over your Venus, Saturn is the friend of Venus. Venus is the natural, planet of love, pleasure, luxury, money, possessions. Saturn will increase your possessions, increase your interaction with luxury, your introduction with luxury. I think it's not that you will be buying certain things, It could be possible. It depends where your Venus is. Sorry, where what Mahadasha you are going through, but you have an exalted Venus. This means, right? You have a Venus in the sign of Pisces, so you have that ability to spend on the finest things. You love to spend on articles of luxury. This Saturn is going to suppress that. The Saturn will say that this is your time to put that money into some cause, into some productive thing. So either you'll start investing your money within your business, within your work, or you'll put that money into fixed assets. Saturn will not Saturn will give you money with coming over Venus, but it is not going to let you enjoy that in a way that you're doing wasteful expenses. It is going to take in a meaning towards those expenses. Venus is about love, romance. So definitely your love and romance is going to suppress. But you know what? Many times I've seen whenever Saturn comes over Venus in the transits, there is an affair. If you are married, there is going to be someone to come towards you to lure you. You know why? Because your husband, your spouse will be out there working. They'll be they'll be totally workaholic. They'll keep on working. They'll keep on building something, becoming productive, fulfilling their responsibilities. That's why the distance comes in. So because of this distance, someone is going to take the benefit. And this is in the 12th house. This is a exalted Venus. So this can create in distractions. But you know what? The moment you decide to indulge into such an encounter, this Saturn is going to give its karma. That this Saturn is going to get you caught. Right? So, what's the use of it, right? So that's what Saturn does when it transits over Venus. But definitely, it can bring in partnership, it can bring in business opportunities for an individual, and it is always a good time for work and career for an individual. Definitely. But this also shows that you will be now focusing on an expenditure which is going to be there in the future. So right now it's more of like you are kind of saving for that particular major expenditure to happen in future. So it's more of you'll be making investments, you'll be making, you'll be trying to possess investments into real estate, property, or something which is a fixed asset. Okay, then of course, for people who are single, who do not have anyone in their life, this can actually bring in love for you. And I would say it is going to be kind of a love situation, lovey-dovey situation. It is going to be a very practical encounter. It is going to be it's more of like a serious relationship or a serious relationship like marriage. So it can initiate marriage, it can initiate serious relationship. It can even initiate long distance relationship. So for a certain amount of time, if you are about to get married and then Saturn comes in, or if you are just single, whenever if you since Saturn is going to activate the Venus, it will bring in the opportunity of marriage, but there's going to be a significant distance between you two, right? Now this Venus is also just responsible for your spouse. Venus is spouse. So you will have to take up the responsibility of spouse. You will have to take up the responsibility towards relationship. And with Venus, it's your ability towards relationships. This is the time when Saturn is going to make you mature within relationships and mature about stabilizing and balancing your relationships. So, if suppose you were a person who, since initially I talked about this, that Pisces is a very unpredictable sign. So these people might love completely, but when they get angry, when it's their reacting time, it's just destructive. This Saturn is going to, and you know what? Somehow you will see people who have exalted Venus, they don't have that ability to actually, in reality, the way relationships work, they don't know that. They don't have the understanding of that because they are not practical when it comes to love. They are in their own world. They have their own picture of love within their mind. So how does a marriage becomes long term? We always say when Saturn comes into the seventh house or Saturn conjuncts Venus, you get a long term relationship. You have to have a long term relationship. You always want that. But how does that come? Is it going to come if you are always lovey dovey or you are always fascinating about love and it is not something you're getting? Then there will only be those, fights, wars, and everything like that. And that is what happens with Pisces, exalted Pisces, because they have a different mindset towards love. Now, this is actually the Saturn is now going to show you that what the reality of relationships are. In relationships, you're bound to adjust, you're bound to sacrifice. It's not about what you have picture in movies. It's not a movie, it's real life. That's what the Saturn is going to teach you in respect of love and relationships. Now next, if the Saturn comes over Mercury, if the Saturn comes over Mercury, first of all, you will suddenly find the urge to become technical with communication devices. You will be very much online. You will just, and it's not that you're just online and you're doing certain things. You are chatting with this girl, that boy, this girl. No, you are becoming productive with your communication devices. You'll be learning online. You'll be going in for online classes. Your communication restricts, but when you communicate, it's like you're just giving heart attack to the other person. You're going to be so blunt and direct. You're going to communicate the reality on their face without any filter, unfiltered words. But Mercury is your youthfulness. Mercury is instability. Mercury is the wobbliness. Mercury is the planet that is responsible for your sense of humor. Excellent sense of humor you are going to develop during this time. And since this Mercury is debilitated, right? You have a debilitated Mercury. This Saturn is going to bring you back from that imaginative and illogical world to the reality of life. Saturn will restrict your imagination, and you will be talking about the practical, visible, tangible things. You will be searching so many things online, doing stuff with AI, maybe online stuff. You'll be learning through technology, technical skills, and you will also be using communication into your career. You'll be using technical research work within your career. Mercury is the natural ruler of the third house and the sixth house. You will come into a routine. Your youthfulness, if suppose you were a person who used to laugh, who used to talk with everyone, you are a person who is very comic. Now you'll suddenly start doing comedy upon yourself, upon your misery. When Saturn Mercury comes together, they are very good at pinpointing and turning it into a comedy, turning the realities of life into comedy, somebody's suffering or somebody's disqualities into comedy. That's what comedians do. That's why always with Saturn Mercury conjunction, you will see excellent comedians. They can make you laugh in the worst of the situations also. But when it comes to themselves, they're always serious while doing this. Right? So Mercury will also, Saturn will also restrict your communication. Now you're no longer, like I did tell you in the video of Mercury in the sign of Pisces, that they will not have a point that they are talking about. They will say something, but they will be thinking something else. So they will not be telling you what they are thinking, but they will be just, they'll give you a statement and let you predict that what they are trying to say. Now, when Saturn comes in here, it will tell you that how, what is the reality of communication. You're going to now not use very cloudy words, you're going to use direct words. And you will see that in the initial stage of this transit, when Saturn comes over your Mercury, or when it comes very close to your Mercury, it will give you judgments over your communication. There could be an instance where you might communicate out of anger, out of a great reaction. Then you'll be, somehow you'll have to face up the karma related to that. So that will be the moment, or that will be the duration where you will just not find words to communicate. You'll just not find words to explain yourself. That is the biggest problem I've seen. And what you do majorly when there is a Saturn transiting over Mercury, you frame things within your mind. What you'll do when you're sitting alone, you'll try to think, I'll say this, I'll say that. But when the situation comes, nothing comes out of your mouth. Or you just forget what I was trying to say. And when Saturn comes over Mercury, and especially in Pisces, it can also make you forgetful. With Moon also it does that. It can make you forgetful. Sometimes you will see, because it slows down your intelligence, it slows down your thinking process. With Moon it slows down your thinking process. With Mercury it slows down your intelligence. Now your intelligence becomes more mature, your communication becomes more mature, and you get karma related to your communication. You get judged because of your communication. That is the only reason why you now become like that. That is the reason why you transform like that. Okay. Now, when Saturn comes over your natal Saturn, this simply means that now there is a significant transformation and karma related to that particular placement. The placement of your Saturn is going to intensify. It is going to become double the effect. So you will have to bear the karma related to wherever your Pisces sign is, wherever your Saturn is placed. So when Saturn, transit Saturn comes over the natal Saturn, it will indeed give you the karma and also will give you the opportunities towards that area. Now, since you already are habitual of the fact, when Saturn comes into the sign of Pisces, it gives a practical mindset, it gives a sense of responsibility towards that area, that is still going to be there. Right, that is within your nature. But when this Saturn is coming over this your natal Saturn, that means something in your life is going to happen which will actually activate that particular placement into 100. So, for example, if you have Saturn in the fourth house in the sign of Pisces, that means, and now this Saturn is transiting in your fourth house, that means that you have to take up the responsibility towards your mother, towards your peace of mind, towards your heart space and your home, towards your peace. Now, you will definitely get karma related to the fourth house. You'll have to be organized with your throne. Fourth house is actually the throne of your life, it is your dignity, it's your heart space. So when Saturn is naturally in the fourth house, suppose it is in the sign of Pisces, that means that you naturally do have a lot of intense emotions within your heart space. But in your life, you have experienced a lot of things which has actually, you know, gotten into a kind of trauma within you. You have already experienced certain situations where you have isolated yourself, where you have restricted your heart space. You don't let people enter into your heart space. Now something significant is going to happen during this transit, that is going to play out, that is going to give it the direction to play out. So you would require to be very, in tuned with wherever your Saturn in Pisces is in your D1 chart, right? Since Saturn is the natural karka of career, and when this transit Saturn is coming over the natal Saturn, that means it can bring in opportunities related to foreign lands or related to the 12th house matters, which is creativity, research, and your ability to express yourself, express your inbuilt talents, express your skills. So it is going to bring in that hard work. You will have to work really, really hard. But trust me, whenever there is transit in, natal Saturn return, then always you get opportunities in life. You get opportunities regarding that placement, but you do get the intense karma that is written in your stars. That also you get during that point of time. Now, this Saturn activates your karma, it activates your career. So, you are going to face a significant transformation in respect of your career. You're going to make, you are going to actually work really, really hard towards it. Nothing is going to come easy, since Saturn in the sign of Pisces naturally creates a set of response a sense of responsibility. It's subconsciously, it always feels heavy. And there's something or the other going on within your mind. Your mind is just working 24/7. So now this feeling is going to be there intensely, like into two, right? So Saturn natal return, I would say it's not an easy journey whenever it happens for anyone, but it is also a period full of opportunities for an individual, especially in terms of their career. Now, if this Saturn transits over your Mars, Mars is your energy, it's your discipline, it's the planet responsible for your actions. Whenever I see Saturn Mars conjunction or I see Saturn coming over Mars, there's one word I have for this situation, and that is Kalesh. For the English subscribers, if you do not know what Kalesh means, that means war, fight. Whenever see, you have Mars now in the sign of Pisces, so you have accumulated so much of trauma because of not taking actions. Like, for example, in your home, you must have had some sort of, like, when Mars, a planet of fire, a planet of energy, goes into the water sign, goes into water element, it the fire, you are putting the fireball, you're taking the fireball and throwing it into water. The fire is going to get gone. It's just that dark fireball who does not has its fire. It's like ruined now. So that is what Mars. What happens with Mars coming into the sign of Pisces? It frustrates itself to that extent. Then when that saturation point comes in, it's a blast that happens. So now you in your life, you have been a person who has accumulated a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma in the sense that you have adjusted a lot. You have adjusted so much at many points with your family, with the ones you love, so that there is no war-like situation. So you have avoided that. And this also happens when Mars is in the 12th house. So when Saturn now is coming in there, it will force you to deal with the kalesh, the fights. It is going to now say that enough of your duality, now deal with it. Now act over it. You have to act over it. You have to come out of your subconscious mind. You have to come out of this belief that if you keep quiet, everything is just going to fall in place. Because this is ignorance. Your first lord, natural first lord, Mars is the natural first lord. You're putting that into the 12th house. You're ignoring so many things. You're in your own world, into your own subconscious mind. You're ignoring so many things. So that's why this will make you deal with lots of things in life. And when you have to deal with some, things in your life which you have not been dealing with, definitely you have to, the fights come in. Because because of one person not taking a stand for themselves, gives the ability or gives the freedom to the other person to react as much as they could, or as much as many times they could. So that is the situation with you people. So now it's the time to acknowledge. That is what this Saturn is going to make you do. Now, of course, Mars is also responsible for accidents, surgeries, and since 12th sign, the sign of Pisces is also about that. And it is also it is also about your eyesight. It is about blood, right? So when Saturn comes here, there can be issues related to all of this. Be careful with conveyances, be careful with driving, be careful with cuts and bruises, wherever the Pisces is falling. Wherever the Pisces is falling, check the organ of that house, and check and just get a checkup for that particular organ, so that you know that there isn't any surgery that has to take place. And let me tell you, when you have to see a surgery, it's not just based on the transits. Transit is one of the factors, but definitely your Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyantardasha is going to tell that completely. Okay, and since this Saturn is about restriction, it is the heavy one. When it comes over Mars, it can also denote blood clotting, right? So that's why something related to this can also be there. Something, or in your life generally also, something can clot up within your heart, within your mind, because of which you are going to get affected so much, and which is going to create that frustration. And again, since Mars is the planet of energy, Saturn makes them very lethargic. Saturn makes them lazy, and it challenges their energy. Saturn challenges your ability to fight, your ability of courage. So you will actually experience certain circumstances where your courage is going to be tested. You have to be responsible towards your male friends, towards any male who is in your life, and even your children. Saturn will make you responsible towards provision. Whenever Saturn Mars come together, I know this is a very technical conjunction. So wherever it falls, and especially it will give you technicality with your thought process. You will start thinking very technically. You will start, thinking about each and every detail. Even if you are a person who just overlook so many things, you'll start considering the details and thinking about details. Your subconscious mind will become quite active, and you will get most of the activity and most of the energy in the night time. And there's something or the other going on within your mind all the time, right? So we are done with sun, moon. We are done with the Jupiter, Venus, Mercury, Mars. Now we are left with Rahu and Ketu. So Saturn, when comes over Rahu and Ketu, it's the true meaning of nazar. Nazar is real. That that slogan that we have. So whenever Saturn comes over Rahu, Saturn is a rebel. Rahu is also a rebel. But Saturn controls Rahu. See, Rahu is a rebel who wants to just rebel because he wants to do that. Saturn is a rebel, but he rebels for a cause. He always has a genuine cause to rebel for. But when Saturn comes over Rahu, Rahu is what? The most karmic planet. It's the planet of transformation. Saturn will make you transform. Something very, very big will happen in your life. Very big transformation. Even it could even give you instant fame, or it can give you instant defamation. So since Rahu is for you, it's this in the sign of Pisces. You yourself are so much into your expenses all the time. You are into your in your own world. You have so many things on your mind. Your mind is always cluttered with thoughts. Now this Saturn will come in and segregate your thoughts. It will give you very good ideas, and it'll give you direction. It will give this Rahu direction. But wherever this Rahu is placed, you're going to get the maximum amount of karma from that house, and you are going to rebel towards that house. Right? So Saturn coming over Rahu, that's giving the bhog, giving the results, but it's your responsibility to control that Rahu, control and focus your place or whatever you have to do. Only then you'll be given the blessing of Rahu, of Saturn. But definitely, this works extremely well for an innovator person, a person who innovates, who wants to bring in a change. If your work is about designing something, creating some technical software, creating some technical ideas related to maybe you are an architect, maybe you need to create designs. This Saturn is going to help you with that. It is going to give you focus. Now, you won't have unnecessary expenses, but you will have expenses towards responsibility. Now, did you think like I'm going to say you are not going to have unnecessary expenses, so there will be no expenses? No, the expenses will be there. This is a Rahu in the sign of Pisces. But when Saturn comes over here, the expenses will have a cause. They'll be focused, they'll be out of responsibility. Right? But definitely talks about a significant change. Significant change. And it can also indulge you into spirituality. Definitely, it is going to get you connected with what is out there, what is not visible, and in a very practical manner, in a very factual manner. You're not going to be a person like someone just said you this is the thing and you're going to believe it. No, you're going to check it for yourself. You're going to research about it. You're going to check in, like when we research on certain people's chart, certain people, when we just research on charts, how do we get to a conclusion after just evaluating what was actually done, what actually happened with this placement repetitively, and then we come to a conclusion. That is what will happen with Saturn and Rahu. But of course, Saturn coming over Rahu, and that too in the sign of Pisces, it can give you very negative mindset during those 2.5 years. Very negative mindset. So you have to attract positivity. You have to bring in positivity. You have to heal yourself. This would require ultimate healing. With Venus also, with Moon also. So it can actually lead you to addiction, any type of addiction, drugs, alcohol, sex, pleasures, any sort of, even pornography, and maybe prostitutes. It will actually lead you to that particular domain. And that's where you need to control yourself. And trust me, this is going to be this need of yours, or maybe once or twice you will get into it. But then this is going to be your catalyst for spirituality. This is going to be the catalyst for you when you get to understand what is life about. But avoid these things, save yourself from these things, because with Pisces the intensity is never known. You never know an ocean, how deep an ocean is. So similarly, you never know the depth of the sign of Pisces. Now lastly, if Saturn comes over Ketu, Ketu is a planet, whenever I think about Ketu, I think of selfless service, selfless sacrifice, where you just made a sacrifice, but you never mention it. You want recognition, you never desire it. You want fulfillment of desire, do not desire it. Do not think about it. You get a recognition, be like, I did it, I got it. Okay, next. That is what you should do with Ketu, wherever your Ketu is placed. That is also about a natal placement, whenever it is placed. But when it is in a water sign, especially with Pisces, it is about uh, just sacrifice, un, uh, unasked sacrifice, or uh, will, like, you don't demand anything in return. It's just a sacrifice that comes from within. When Saturn comes over this, it is going to show you the direction, because Ketu does not have the head, just has the body. The Saturn will help it move. If you are a person who sacrifices towards that area wherever the Pisces is, if you connect spiritually to your god, to your devata, the Saturn is going to hold you and take you forward. But if you go the other way around, if you are constantly nagging about your sacrifices, if you're constantly saying this or that, or you are just, blaming, because with Ketu, the blame game comes in. I've seen this many times. It's a major victimization, blame game that comes in with Ketu. And there's a lot of, nagging things, just pinpointing things with Ketu. So the more you do that, the more the Saturn is going to be like, oh, you were complaining about it? I'll give it more to you. I'll make you deal with it more. The more you don't nag about it, you don't, because see, Ketu is going to give you that detachment, it is going to give you disappointment. But when Saturn comes with Ketu, Saturn comes over Ketu, it says that if you do not, repent on this, if you do not keep on nagging this, if you don't keep on pinpointing it, I'm going to hold your hand and give you the fruits of your sacrifice. But if you go on victimizing yourself, if you keep on, just repenting all the time that, oh, I did this, but I'm not appreciated, this, that, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm going to give you that the most, give you that misery the most, and then deal with it. But it's a very beautiful theme with Saturn and Ketu, I'm telling you. When Saturn comes with Ketu or over Ketu, it can give it direction. But you only have to be fair and square. You only have to be thankful, grateful, and, just loving about this placement. You just have to be loving about that house, that it's okay. If I'm doing my karma or karma towards that house, it's my karma. I have to do that. If you accept wherever Ketu is placed, it's not just about this placement, wherever your Ketu is, just accept that house. Once you accept it, I'm telling you, this Ketu is not going to disturb you ever. And be fair and square there. Just be fair and square. And when Saturn comes with Ketu, it's the karka of your career. You can experience, actually, when Saturn comes over Ketu, it can bring in some sort of cuts or gaps within that area. So for example, you have Ketu in the 10th house in Pisces. It can suppress your career for some time. It can bring in gaps, but it will bring in to give you better opportunities. Maybe you want to go back to school, learn something, and then get a better opportunity in your career. And it also gives you focus with your research. Now you're not just researching like this, and it's not that your research is not being appreciated. Now you will use your research into your profession. You will use your research to let people know about it, it will be productive now. Okay, guys. So this was my analysis about how this Saturn's transit in the sign of Pisces is going to be. And if the Saturn is coming over any of your natal planets, then how it is going to be. Now, in the next videos, we are going to, talk about each and every zodiac sign. We are going to just take on the videos. We are going to just take on the charts and discuss about the placement thoroughly. Okay, so see you next time. If you want to get your readings from me, you can check out the link below, www.anmollastrology.com. Under the reading section and unique reading section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. So see you next time. Bye bye. Take care.